Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to my talk. My name is Koffi Sessi, and I am a consultant at Volta Communications. So why this talk? This is a question that I've run into a lot that I've heard many people ask. Now, before we dive into it, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am an optimist, and I am passionate about empowering people. So that's my job, that's my day job, that's my mission in life. So today, I want to talk to you about going pro and share with you 5 strategies that you can use to raise your brand profile. So what exactly does it mean, or what do I mean when I say go pro? Let's take a doctor, for example. When you want to see a doctor or you require a doctor's service, you first call the doctor. And the doctor tells you when you can come and see him and where you can come and see him. And then after the service is performed, the doctor sends you a bill. And then you pay the bill and you don't call the doctor back to negotiate. Right? Now let's transpose that into your developer world. When you need a new opportunity, when you need a new job, what is the process like? Okay, you find a company who needs somebody who has your skills. Then you call up the company, and they tell you when they can talk to you. So you go to the interview. They run you through a whole bunch of hoops, right? And then you go home. They tell you, we'll call you in 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, they call you, and they say, all right, we've reviewed all the application. It looks like you're the best candidate. We want you to come in. And then you go in, they sit you down, they tell you, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to pay you this much for the job, and you're going to work 7 days a week, or 5 days if you're lucky, and you may have only 2 weeks vacation. That's usually how the process works. But I got to thinking, and here's my thing. What if we can change that power dynamic? Because at the end of the day, being a professional, being a pro, it's about managing power. Like the doctor tells you what to do and you don't question it, you do it. Because the doctor is seen as a professional. Same as a lawyer, right? But when you, who I think are professional as well, when you go to do work, the company tells you exactly what's going to happen, and you only have this much room to negotiate. It's not even a negotiation. Sometimes it's take it or leave it. What if we can change that? And more importantly, what can we do to change that? And that's what this talk is about. So the first step is this one. Focus. Focus, sharpen your expertise. It's tempting, it's easy to want to be all things to all people. It doesn't work. I'm sure you've heard of the saying, jack of all trades, master of none, right? Because when the skills are commoditized, there is no difference between a code written by you and a code written by somebody else. Why should I pay you more? I can just as well take you out of the system and swap you with somebody else, and it's going to be fine. Nobody's going to know any different. Right? But what I'm saying is, when you focus, things will be different. But to get to that focus point, you need to make a choice. Right? Java is a large technology landscape. There are many technologies involved in there. Right? You got to pick a small area, and you dive deep into that small area. Deep. What I mean by deep is you know it forward, backward, and sideways. You know everything there is to know about that. Because the reality is, Java is a 12 million developer community. 12 million. That is more people than in a lot of countries in Europe, in Africa, and the rest of the world. 12 million. If Java was a country, it'd be a big country. Right? That's what we're talking about here. That's why it's so important for you to find your place, to position yourself. And plus, companies don't have just general problems. They have specialized problems. Because if the problem companies have, anybody can solve the problem, they don't need to pay much for it. If you need to clean the floor, you just get anyone can clean the floor, right? If you just need to write generic code, anybody can write that generic code. But if you need something specific, that means only a few people are able to do that, right? That's where your value is coming from. But this is only the first step. The next step is where most people get in trouble. Communicating your expertise with consistency, right? Just because you know, just because you can do something, doesn't mean the world around you knows. Doesn't mean the world around out there knows what you can do. So you have got to tell them who you are, right? Big brands, all the brands we love and appreciate today, they didn't become, or they didn't give us the choice to think about them. They told us how to think about them. They told us how to feel about them. Apple didn't leave us alone just so we came to like it. No. Apple told us exactly how to feel about them. Same thing with Nike. Name any big brands you can think of. They tell you how to think about them. So if big brands are spending a lot of money doing that, why are we leaving us to choice or to chance? So as the pro, you have to tell them about who you are. Let's take your social media feed, for example, right? So if I audit your social media feed today, and yes, we do such a thing, if I audit your social media feed, what would I find? Are you a dog lover who happens to be also a programmer? Or are you a programmer who happens to be a dog lover? Now, you can be both. There's no problem with being both. But here's the problem. As a company, I'm not looking for a dog lover. I'm looking for a programmer, right? Now, if what I see on your profile tells me you're more of a dog lover, then you just lost an opportunity. Right? So you got to be very conscious about what you put out there. You don't do it by just a happenstance. It's not a mistake. You have to be very deliberate about what you put out there. There are a lot of channels you can choose to you can choose to talk about yourself. A lot of them. You don't have to use every one of them. But the ones you use, the channels you decide to put yourself on, you have got to make sure you're communicating with the same exact voice. Your voice on Twitter should not be different from your voice on YouTube. Because when I'm doing research and I'm looking you up, I want to see how you look on all the platforms, and whichever platforms you're on. I want to make sure it's the same person. Because if your voice is different, guess what happens? I'm confused. Which one are you? Right? As a company, I need to know that when I pay you to do the job, I'm going to get the best possible service. And you need to know that this company is going to treat me right. But the only way you have the leg up is if you have something that I really, really need. If I'm desperate for your service, I'm willing to pay anything. If I'm not, I'm going to pay you as little as possible. Right? Okay. Now, the first two are more for you. I categorize them as the self-awareness piece. The next three are what you do for the community, starting with sharing what you know. Right? Sharing what you know, it's a way for you to master what you've learned. Because as you're teaching somebody else, number one, to teach somebody something you've learned, you need to understand it well enough to formulate how you're going to explain it. Because if you don't understand it well enough, you cannot teach somebody else. So that's one way to do it. Plus, it consolidates your expertise. Yes, you can call yourself an expert, but other people, when they call you an expert, when they see you as an expert, it has more weight. So the word expert is bestowed upon you by the people you've helped. Because if everybody is coming to you when they have a question around JavaFX or around Groovy or around anything Java related in that specific area, you become the go-to guy. And at that point, you become an expert. Everybody is going to be behaving around you as if you know everything about that specific topic because you have proven it. And it's also another way to vet your knowledge. Knowing that you know your stuff. Being confident that you know your stuff. You know your stuff if you can explain it to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Right? And that's what sharing your knowledge will do for you. Then there is this piece. This piece is very important and it's very dear to me. Participate. Help build your community. I said earlier that Java is a 12 million developer community. It's true. At least that's what the numbers I saw last. But it didn't start that way. When Java started, the Java 1.0, talking to the people who have been here that long, there was, hundreds of tens of thousands of people. That's what was reported to me yesterday. How did we go from tens of thousands to 12 million? It's because of participation. The pioneers and the people who started decided that they wanted to see this thing grow. So they were active in the community. They put their mouth where their knowledge is. Because, let's face it, Java is not the best programming language in the universe. We all agree, right? It has a lot of flaws. So if Java has as many flaws as people have been talking about, why does it keep growing? It keeps growing because people are participating. So you choosing to participate in the Java community is your way of being generous. It's you expressing your generosity and helping grow the community. So how can you do that? There are many, many, many ways. You can join a user group, which is one of the ways. And that's where most people start. You can contribute to an initiative. It could be anything. Help write the library. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't really matter what it is. You can lead a project if you have the skills. Once again, what's important here is not what form of participation you have, but the fact that you're participating. Right? Remember at the beginning, we were trying to raise your profile. So when you participate, you become more visible in the community. And when you become more visible, then companies are going to start coming to you instead of you going to them. Remember, we're trying to shift the balance of power. Because if they come to you, you get to name your price. If you go to them, they get to name the price. Last but not least is the newcomers, facilitating the integration of newcomers. I suspect that when you started, you had a few frustrations along the way as you were learning about the craft first and then learning about the community, how things work in the community. You were thinking about that, right? Just remember that when new people join the community, they're dealing with all of that beginner frustration. So as somebody who has been in the community for a while, it's incumbent upon you to help them, especially if you're trying to raise your profile. If you're trying to establish a brand that when you say the name, everybody knows who you're talking about. I can start, giving you names, and you will know exactly who these people are and what they've done for the community. That is because of their willingness to help newcomers integrate. Yes, it's true. Everyone would love to have James Gosselin as their personal mentor, or Arun Gupta, or Garrett, or any number of people. But here's the reality. There's not enough of them. There is not enough of them to help everybody who needs help in the Java community. That's a sad reality. So what do? Well, individually, we all pay it forward. Because somebody was there for you, somebody helped you, you helped someone else. Right? I know I've been talking to you about turning pro, and I know turning pro is scary because it means you have to expose yourself. And that comes with dealing with all your personal insecurities. But I think it's doable. I believe you can do it. And you can do it by just recapping here. You can do it by focusing on your expertise. Make sure you know your stuff. You can do it by communicating with consistency. Tell the world what you want it to think about you. Educate the world about yourself. Share what you know. When you learn something, share it with somebody else. And participate in the community. Last but not least, help mentor newcomers into the community. And if you can do this, because this is not a one-and-done deal, it's something that you have to continuously do. And if you keep doing it, you will see a change in how things are happening in your professional life. And my friends, that's all I have for you today. Thank you.